Rochelle Miranda from Connections B2B, based in Bogota, Colombia, that offers services to facilitate trade between companies in LATAM and India, and I will be your host for today. Today, we are here connected from two ends of the world, India on one side and Colombia and Ecuador on the other. So welcome to you all to our second webinar of Doing Business with India series. Today's focus is on the agro-food sector, where we'll explore opportunities of trade and investment, capabilities in raw and processed food products, phytosanitary regulations, and permissions for export and import to Colombia and Ecuador, mega trends in food security, as well as an overview of the India, Colombian, and Ecuadorian market in the agro-food sector in order to initiate dynamic trade and investment opportunities between our countries. We have with us today an incredible panel of experts from both regions. From India, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Arpita Mukherjee, an economic policy expert with over 25 years of experience advising governments and multilateral bodies. Her research focuses on sustainable trade, food supply chains, nutrition, and retail logistics. She has worked across India, the UK, Europe, ASEAN, and the US, and brings deep insight into the agro-food sector policy and market trends. We also have with us today Mr. Tejas Gandhi, Chairman of the Federation of Indian Spice Stakeholders and owner of Manilal Jamandas, a 125-year-old spice export company based in Unja, Asia's largest spice trading hub. Mr. Gandhi brings deep industry experience and a global perspective on the agro-food trade, particularly in the spice sector. Welcome, Mr. Gandhi and Dr. Arpita. From Ecuador, we have Mr. Javier Ceballos, a seasoned agriculture and industrial consultant with extensive experience across Ecuador and Latin America. As former Vice Minister of Agriculture of Ecuador, Mr. Ceballos has played a key role in shaping natural agricultural policies, has led and advised multiple agro-industrial projects, including organic certification for international markets, sugar and alcohol production, and fertilizer plant development. His deep understanding of agronomy and agribusiness, combined with decades of hands-on experience, makes him a valuable voice in discussions on agro-food development and trade in the region. Also joining us today from Ecuador is Mr. Alberto Acosta Bruneo, a renowned Ecuadorian economist, consultant, and communicator with extensive experience in macroeconomics, analysis, and business advisory. As editor of Analysis Semanal and contributor to the Economist Intelligence Unit, he provides critical insights into Ecuador's economic and policy landscapes. With a strong background advising private sector companies and multilateral organizations, Mr. Acosta brings valuable expertise on how economic trends, investment climates, and regulatory frames impact the agro-food sector in Ecuador. Señor Javier y Señor Alberto, bienvenidos. For Colombia, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Juan Carlos Orozco, Marketing Manager of UPL, a global leader in the sustainable agricultural solutions, the fifth largest company in the world in agrochemicals, and the only Indian company in Colombia and Ecuador in the agricultural sector. As an agronomist by training and with over 29 years of experience in the sector, Mr. Orozco brings deep expertise in production, rural extension, and strategic marketing, contributing to UPL's mission of advancing sustainable growth in the agro-food industry. Last but not the least, one of our very important guests. Today with us from Colombia, Senor Edgar Serrato, an official from the Technical Directorate of International Affairs from the Colombian Agricultural Institute, ICA. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Edgar, a veterinarian expert and senior official at ICA with over 2 decades of experience in animal health and sanitary risk evolution. He has held various leadership roles in ICA, including national quarantine coordination and regional epidemiologist, and is currently responsible for key areas such as zoonotic diseases control and sanitary oversight of the pork sector. ICA is Colombia's national authority for agricultural health and safety. It plays a vital role in safeguarding the country's agro-food sector through the regulations of agricultural trade, phytosanitary and livestock health control, and the oversight of seeds, bioinputs, and genetically modified organisms. Operating through a vast national network and advanced diagnostic infrastructure, ICA ensures that Colombia meets both domestic and international standards for safe and sustainable agriculture production, contributing to the country's food security and export competitiveness. Dr. Edgar Bienvenido. We also encourage each one of you today to engage in this discussion by leaving us your questions through the chat box, while we will discuss these towards the end of the panel discussion. So without any further delay, let's get started. To begin today, I would like to invite Dr. Vineet Kumar, First Secretary, Indian Embassy in Colombia, accredited to Ecuador, to do us the honor of welcoming our audience today to share your thoughts on India's interest in Colombia and Ecuador, agro-food sector, and what's driving sourcing initiatives from the region. Over to you, Dr. Vineet.
Uh, Thank you, Ms. Rochelle, and good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Vineet Kumar, First Secretary in Indian Embassy in Colombia, looking after the commercial work. So, this webinar series has been opportunity in bringing together the three sites together, India with Ecuador and Colombia, and food processing industry, agro-food sector, and alimentation. That is one of the core areas in both the countries since historic times. So first of all, I welcome all the distinguished panelists, speakers, our Indian businesses and Colombian and Ecuadorian businesses. Honorable Ambassador of Ecuador, Mr. Fernando Buscelli. So thank you so much everyone for joining this webinar series, and it is our privilege and an honor for the embassy to be able to organize this webinar series in consonance with Connection B2B and supported by India Ecuador Chamber of Commerce, ICA, Trade Promotion Council of India, and UPL, and the respective institutions of all the distinguished panelists. So as I was telling, and as you are aware, that India, uh, the world's largest population today, has needs for its food security, and the current level of development and the governmental policies have ensured that even such a vast population doesn't go hungry. And India is looking forward to and has been doing, our businesses with both the countries in Colombia and Ecuador have been growing, including in the food sector, and there is a lot of scope again in this sector. There is a big complementarity between our countries, which can be utilized, which can be looked into for the benefits of both the countries. So I will the diversification of food security that India is looking forward, and the complementarity in agroclimatic strength between India with Colombia and Ecuador. the trade policies that we have with both the countries. So you might be aware that there is a economic corporation agreement between India and Colombia and India and Ecuador, that is called JETCO. So these meetings, the new round of negotiations are happening, and the meetings will be held for India and Ecuador in Delhi, and for India and Colombia, it is being chalked out recently. There is a memorandum of understanding between India and Colombia that are in talks on the agriculture, aquaculture, and the livestock sector. So as it gets through, it will also be one of the opportunities to further consolidate the agro industry in that way. So, since the last years, you might be aware that India has been strength of India in this sector lies in exporting commodities like rice, basmati and non-basmati cereals, groundnuts, processed food and juices, spices, vegetables as well to both the countries. And we have seen the strength of Colombia, and we import a large amount of coffee, cocoa, tropical fruits, palm oil. To India from Colombia, and from Ecuador, banana, cocoa, seafood, and specialty agro products. And as I said, there is a lot of scope in this sector. So today's discussion will focus about these things. We will listen from all the sides. We also have the regulatory authority in this sector from Colombian side, that is ICA. So I hope today's webinar will be useful. You will find it useful for this sector, and to be able to know various aspects of commercial relationship in agro food sector between our countries. I wish all the best. I request you all to engage freely, to put your questions in the chat box. We will be exchanging through the organizers the details of all the participants to with all of you, so that you can be going forward, remain in contact with them, to negotiate it further, to do your business, to grow your business further. So thank you all. Thank you, Miss Rochelle, for this, for organizing this, and looking forward to listening to our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vineet. That was very insightful and encouraging. We truly appreciate your time and your leadership and giving us this opportunity to have this webinar. Mr. Sevajos, as former minister, I would like to ask you, and also as consultant, from your perspective, how would you summarize Ecuador's eco-food landscape? Where do you see the strongest potential for trade in India? Mr. Sevajos, Señor Javier.
Buenos días. Es un gusto para
Okay,
mí.
good morning for everyone. For me, it's a pleasure just to have this opportunity to share my personal opinion. I just want to say that the country, through during the time, we have been having some challenges with the agri-food, like cacao and other kind of production that we are having. And from this point on, we have been having some like business groups trying to get a or understand a possibility to import. Ecuador was having some meetings with India in previous in the previous time. So anyway, the possibilities of businesses are growing just because the vision that and the changes that we are having here in the country. I will say that we have an excellent opportunity just to try to deal with maybe those problems that in the past existed. All right. So there are too many agricultural aspects. India being pretty big, I'm completely sure that could absorb all the good things that we can that we have for you. Obviously, we have some pros and cons that we have to double check. But I will say that each of these aspects we have to see them as an opportunity, just trying to resolve each like challenge that we can have. One of the important things that I have here that maybe in my perspective, we don't have in Ecuador is going to be the Indian machines in terms of agriculture, because the technology and the machines that you have there in India are pretty different to the agricultural solutions that come from China. You know what I mean? So I would say that the Indian machines and tools, it could be easier, commercialized, but we don't have it here. So that's going to be one of the points here. So because when a product is cheap, the business power maybe they are not going to bring, because maybe the earnings are not going to be the ones that they are expecting. So, or maybe it's not, maybe that amount is not, could be important somehow. Maybe that could be the perspective, but I would say that we are coordinating each time in a better way. For example, in talking about the family agriculture is one of the aspects where we have been working in a really good way. It could be an opportunity for us. In the country, we have a new group in the sugar industry, and I would say that this is encouraging part of the industry where before we didn't have anything. So in this way, we are finding some solutions from India in the, for example, the part of taxes, machines, tools, and also developing this kind of a strategy just to promote job to more people in the country. And one of the things that unfortunately we are not like updated is going to be the alcohol conversion. And And I would say that that's one of the most important aspects that I could mention is something good that our countries like understand this vision, just to understand what is agriculture in an international way. So in the same way in Colombia, I would say that this is a pretty cool, pretty good aspect about the things that we are doing with the sugar cane. And talking about opportunities, I will say that this is coming from the sugar industry. And that's going to be that contra border adjustment mechanism, about the measures that we are trying to take just to be included in the European community. And for example, from India, I know something about hydrogen energy, and let's say that this is also an impact that we have with the new line with fertilizers. And I know that Colombia is moving forward also, and they have a huge potential. And we are commercializing with African cane. I'm not expert in the things that we are like exporting for India or what is coming from there, but anyway, I'm completely sure that we have a huge capacity just to find the best options about how we can work together. We can produce whatever agricultural product in the four regions we have in an appropriate way. So we need technology, that's clear. And more than this, maybe the huge potential that we have here in this moment is going to be the interest of India, and also the interest of our countries, just to try to work together as try to move forward all together just to improve our projects and this industry. Again, thank you very much, and I'm pretty happy for this space. You just let me know what I have to do. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Senor Javier.
Thank you,
That
Mr.
was
Javier.
a very comprehensive overview, and for sure we have to take up uh, this issue of of machinery and technology from India, for sure we can look at that to bring it to Colombia and Ecuador. Mr. Acosta, could you talk to us and give us some insight, walk us through Ecuador's agro-food export evolution? What are the standout products and growth areas? And from your perspective, which Indian products have shown notable increase in Ecuador's market? Over to you, Mr. Acosta.
Muy buenos días, un gusto estar con ustedes.
Okay, good morning,
Muchísimas
and
gracias por la
it's a
invitación.
pleasure for me being here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm gonna talk about maybe the vision or the implications about the trade between India and India in this moment. I will say I know that we are gonna have 4 more moments just to talk a little more about this. But anyway, let's talk about the current situation. Let's take into account that Ecuador has a specialization in agro and export. Let's say that that's like the specialty, and let's say that this is like the most important trade in the country. And Ecuador is producing oil, 22% is going to be oil. Then we produce shrimps, 40%, and then we have other agro export products. Cacao is going to be the 13% of the exportation. Banana is going to be the 12% of the exportation, and then let's say that the mining is going to be the 10% of this. Also, the fish is going to be 5%. Flowers, other important percentage, and let's say that here we are going to have more products where Ecuador is pretty strong. As for example, some products that come from banana. Coffee represents less than 0.5%. Let's say that this our area is going to be like smaller, and we have other products like fish flour and among others. So let's say that that's the current trade in Ecuador with the world. And now let's take a look of India. The trade to India, Ecuador export around $2,000 million, and the main product was the wood industry, and is going to, and then was cacao with 56 millions. And again, let's say that the wood was the strongest market with India, was around $17 million. So let's say that this trade was focused around two products. And also in previous years, let's say that 2024 these numbers reduced. But anyway, let's say that we overcame in somehow the $500 million. And the strongest product was the gold for Ecuador in this time, and the wood. Actually, that's the current trade, or the strongest product for Ecuador. In terms of agri-food, let's say that we don't have like a big development as India. Of course, we are specialized in this production in agriculture, but the commercialization it has been pretty easy for them. But anyway, maybe those are like the main products about they are exporting to India. But in Ecuador has been importing in 2024 around $300 million from India. And the import, let's say that is going to be for vehicles, for example, vehicles from India, trucks. And the second one is going to be pharmaceutical products. The third one is going to be aluminiums, manufacturers, machinery, equipments, and there are other industry products, some optical products, electric
tiene su
material.
especialización, al ser
Let's
un
say
país
that
que se especializa
part
mucho en la
of
producción
the
agrícola,
part of
en
Ecuador,
Ecuador
we are
vemos productos
specialized in the
agrícolas, materias
agriculture
primas como el
production
oro,
and raw material
el
also,
cobre,
like the gold,
y en cambio compra
and
productos
also
elaborados,
they are buying
productos
like
más bien
finished
de
products,
maquinarias, de
for
equipos,
example,
etcétera.
related to
También
machines,
algunos productos
machinery, I
naturales,
mean,
también
equipments,
compra algodón
also cotton,
de la
cotton
India, entre
from
otros. Entonces
India.
hay esa
So
especialización.
let's say that
Para el caso
we
del Ecuador
there are
hay
some
algunos desafíos
specialization in
de
some products. There
competitividad
are
en
some
la producción
challenges
agrícola,
in order
porque en
to
el
be
Ecuador la
competitive.
constitución del Ecuador
But let's say
prohíbe
that
el
the
uso de
constitution
semillas
in Ecuador,
transgénicas.
they prohibit
Y no,
transgenic
no hay ningún
seeds,
problema con el consumo. Sí se
and
puede
there
importar
is no
semillas o
any
productos
problem with the
transgénicos, pero no se
consumption.
los puede
But
sembrar en el
we
país.
cannot
Entonces el Ecuador
sue
realmente depende
these
de ellos,
seeds
aquellos
in
productos
our
donde
country.
tiene
So
una
let's say that
productividad
Ecuador
natural muy
depend on
fuerte que
products
le
that they
permite
need due to their
competir a nivel
regulations in order
internacional.
to be
Eso en
competitive with the
cuanto al
international
comercio
market.
en la
And this
actualidad.
is in terms
Vamos a
of
hablar y en una
commercialization.
siguiente
Now,
parte,
in
quiero profundizar
the
sobre el
following
potencial que
part, I
existe,
want to
porque
go deeper
existe, si bien
about the
esto es lo que concentra el
potential
comercio en
that
la
we
actualidad, no
already
significa que el
have.
comercio a futuro tenga que
So
restringirse
let's
solo a
say
estos
that if this
productos.
is the current
Existen
situation,
muchas
it
otras
doesn't mean that it's
opciones
going
para
to be the
ampliar
same
el
thing in the
comercio
future. We are trying to see how
y que vemos que tiene
we
un potencial de
amplify
crecimiento importante
this
el comercio entre
area just to
Ecuador y la India.
guarantee the trade between India and Ecuador.
Gracias, señor Acosta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr.
Fue
Acosta.
un análisis
It
muy
was
bueno.
a pretty
De
good
su perspectiva
analysis
va a
about
ayudar
your
a nuestros estados
perspective. I'm completely
entender
sure
mejor
that that's
esos
going to be
puntos y esas
a key
dinámicas
point
y
for us to
oportunidades entre
understand those
India y
dynamics
Colombia.
in Colombia.
Antes de ir a, a seguir con el
Before
siguiente speaker,
following with the
quiero
next
invitar
speaker, I want to
el señor Fernando
invite
Bocelli, que es
to
embajador
Mr.
de
Fernando
Ecuador
Bocelli, who is
India,
an
para dar
ambassador of
unas
Ecuador in
palabras y unas
India,
observaciones
just
y
to
cómo
give some
podemos
words and your remarks about
incentivar
how we can incentive
ese comercio entre los países
that
de Ecuador y
commerce,
India.
that
El
trade
señor
between
Fernando,
Ecuador
sí,
and
le puede
India.
dar unas
Mr.
palabras.
Fernando,
Gracias.
can you let us know your perspective?
Buenas noches desde Nueva Delhi. No sé si me escuchan.
Okay, good night from New
Sí,
Delhi.
te
Can you hear
escucho.
me? Can you hear me?
Muchísimas gracias. Mi nombre es Fernando Buccelli. Soy el embajador del
Thank you very
Ecuador en
much.
India.
Thank you very
Primeramente
much. I'm
quiero
Fernando
felicitar
Buccelli. I'm
a
the
los
ambassador
organizadores
of Ecuador in
y
India.
especialmente a la
I just want
embajada
to
de Colombia
congratulate
en
the
Colombia por
organizers
tener este
of this
seminario que
webinar just to
definitivamente
have
es
this
una
opportunity to
necesidad
talk about
para el Ecuador
this
y para el sector
trade
exportador.
because it's a need
Ustedes
just to
conocen que
improve
entre los objetivos de la
our
política
market.
exterior
So you
del
know that
presidente de
from
la
the
República,
goals
nuestro
of the
embajador,
exterior
señor Daniel
policy,
Noboa,
the president
se
of
encuentra
Ecuador,
la
Daniel
promoción
Noboa,
del comercio y las inversiones.
we are trying to promote the commerce and
Señor Borch, se perdió. Aló. Tiene que activar su micrófono, no te escucho.
Por favor, se me tuve un técnico, les comentaba que quería felicitar a los organizadores
all right, as I told you before, I just wanted to congratulate you
de la política exterior del
and
presidente del Ecuador,
also
Daniel.
just trying to follow the goals that we have as country, the ones that the president of Ecuador established before in order to reinforce and I'm sorry, it's not pretty clear.
Quiero comentar básicamente que en el mes de marzo pasado tuvimos el 10º cónclave
All right,
de
then we have the
relaciones entre India y América Latina.
okay, we have been having
La batalla
some
comercial, la
important meetings.
quien pudo promover
I'm sorry, no, I'm not able. I think he's having some internet issues. The signal. His signal is not pretty good.
Discúlpame, no se oye.
¿Aló? Señor Fernando, creo que se perdió. Bueno, vamos a seguir
All right,
uh,
I think he's having a
con el webinar. Señor,
signal
señor Fernando.
issue. Mr. Fernando.
Disculpen, hay problemas técnicos.
I'm sorry, I'm having
Nada
some
más,
technical
quiero
issues.
resumir,
I'm
quiero
sorry, I just wanna summarize
para promover las
that we are
exportaciones en
trying to
Ecuador.
organize
Y quiero
everything to
contarles nada más
promote
para
the
terminar
export in
3 aspectos
Ecuador,
fundamentales. Primero, vamos a tener consultas políticas
and
a nivel
then
de viceministro aquí
we
en la
are
India
gonna
con Mr.
have
Sarvedi para
some
hacer una evaluación
important
del
conversations,
comercio. Vamos a tener la tercera
and
reunión del JETCO, que es
also
el
we are
Comité
gonna have
Económico
the
Comercial entre
third
nuestros países, que nos va a servir
committee,
también para
the third
consolidar la
meeting
presencia de las
where
grandes
we are
empresas
going to
indias en Ecuador.
consolidate how
Estamos hablando
important
de
is the
Tata
presence
Chemicals
of the
Services,
companies in
hablamos
Ecuador.
de
We are
UPL,
here, we
hablamos
are
de
trying
Colpin,
to
farmacéutico,
improve
y
all
estamos
the
actualmente en
dynamics,
conversaciones para
especially for
llevar a Ecuador dos
UPL,
grandes empresas,
just to
que
take
son Hero
Ecuador
Motors y
two
Mahindra.
big companies,
La
which is
segunda,
Hero Motor and Mahin.
la información que quiero transmitir
The second information that I wanted to
es
let
que
you
estamos
know
planificando
is that we
para
are
los próximos meses
planning
la visita de una
for
altísima
the
autoridad de la India al
next
Ecuador.
the
No puedo
next
todavía comentarles
visit
porque
of
no
a
me ha
high
informado
authority
formalmente, pero
to
vamos a tener la
Ecuador. I'm
presencia
working for that,
de
but
una
I'm completely
altísima
sure that we
autoridad
have
de la India
the
en el Ecuador. Y el
presence
tercer
of
tema
a
que quería
pretty
compartir
high
con ustedes
authority
es la
from
grata
India
noticia
in
para el
Ecuador, and that's
gobierno de
going
la
to be
India que luego de
something pretty
55
good
años
for
de
all
relaciones
the
entre los
people
dos países,
and
finalmente,
businessmen.
finalmente
It's
ha
going to be a
decidido
pretty
abrir su embajada
important
aquí en Ecuador.
step,
Este
this
es un
visit.
hito en nuestras
Let's
relaciones
say that
que
this
nos
is
va a
going to be
servir
something
efectivamente
amazing.
para
That's the information
incrementar
I wanted to
la
share to you,
cooperación,
just
el
to
comercio, los
encourage
lazos de
you
amistad
to
que unen
keep
a
doing your
nuestros
best in
países.
order to
Se me va a cortar,
enhance
no quiero
our
nuevamente interrumpirles.
our
Quiero felicitar
agreements
a
and
ustedes, a los
our
organizadores, a los panelistas
purposes.
que
So I just want to
organizaron este foro.
congratulate to the organizers
Felicitaciones por su
again, the
empeño.
panelists. Thank you for this
Decirles
space. I'm sorry
que la
for my
embajada del
issues
Ecuador aquí en la India está a sus
about
órdenes.
connection, but
Tuvimos ya la
here the
presencia
embassy of
de la señora
Ecuador
Paulina
is
Durango
here
en el
for
mes de marzo,
you,
acompañado
and
de la
also
señora
Paulina
embajadora de
Durango
Pro Ecuador, y como le digo, de
was
primera fuente, el
working with
potencial,
us,
el gran potencial que
and
existe acá en la
he
India en
knew,
nuestros
or she
productos y desde luego también
met
en consumir
how
productos de la India. Nada más
big
por el
is the
momento. Un
opportunity that
fuerte
we
abrazo a
can
todos
have
y
here in
esperamos acá
India.
pronto
So
para promover
I
el
just want to
comercio y
say
las
thank you
inversiones entre el
again,
Ecuador y la India.
and
Muchas
I'm
gracias.
ready to keep working together. Thank you
Muchas
very much.
gracias, embajador. Muchas gracias por sus
Thank you very
palabras
much,
y su buena noticia
Ambassador.
que
Thank you for your
ya en
words
su embajada
and
en
the good
India está
news
avanzando.
that
Y
about this
entonces ya
opening,
estamos
about
en el
the
camino
Indian
correcto. Entonces,
embassy. I
yo
would say
espero
that
a
we are
tener
walking through the
más comercio
correct
entre ambos
pathway.
países
I will say to
pronto.
have or
Muchas gracias.
increase the commerce between both
Vamos a
the
seguir
countries. So thank you
con el
very
webinar.
much. Now let's
Over
continue with the
to
webinar.
India now. Dr. Arpita Mukherjee. We would like to know what are the key opportunities that companies from Colombia and Ecuador could explore when entering the Indian agro-food market? And are there sectors or product categories where you see strong demand or low entry barriers for Indian products in these countries? Over to you, Dr. Arpita.
Thank you very much, Rochelle, for the invite and to all the organizers. India, if you look at India, India is a very vast and large market for anybody in the food business. We are the fastest growing country in the world. Our growth rate is like projected to be over 6%, much higher than China and other countries. We are also moving very fast in terms of per capita income and in terms of the purchasing power parity. And if you look at the investment that is happening in the food and grocery sector per se, food and grocery sector is fairly open. If you come to food processing, it is fairly open to investment. Government is actually encouraging FDI, the Ministry of Food Processing. A dedicated ministry has been created. This ministry is there to actually resolve problems faced by investors in the food processing sector, and we are trying to attract more and more investment. When you look at the market, as the market income is growing, the consumers are getting used to a lot of food products which can be offered by Colombia and Ecuador, be it premium coffee or chocolate. India is one of the biggest growing markets for premium chocolate, be it superfood like quinoas, millets and quinoas. We are talking about a lot of these healthy foods, be it exotic vegetables where you talk about avocados and other dragonflies, so exotic fruits and vegetables. We are also looking into more lowering the MRL levels, and as I can understand, both Colombia and Ecuador is also looking at lowering the MRL levels as they cater to other markets like the European Union. So we are also going organic. uh, so there is a lot of areas for collaboration. We do import edible oil, pulses, nuts, cocoa beans, cocoa butters, avocados, guavas, apples, a number of fruits and vegetables. Now, if I focus on your second question, that how do you manipulate? Actually, in and when you look, trade is always a two-way flow. When businesses interact between themselves, then actually trade happens. Government can only act as a facilitator. In this context, where the key opportunity lies is actually for business to business interaction, capacity building, and knowledge sharing as the platform like this. What the government can do in this entire process to create an opportunity is more areas for regulatory cooperation, more areas for trade going paperless, streamlining the processes and sharing of the knowledge. At the moment, many a times businesses in these two countries and India don't know the do's and the don'ts. They may, a businessman from India just may take whole spices instead of grinded prices, and they may bring in something to India which they think is very difficult to sell or export. So now what we need to do is to actually create a platform where the rules and regulations and how doing business can be shared. If that is shared, I think there is a lot of scope for us to work together. Now, even in product categories, like we heard about the technology part where we can collaborate. Now, if you look at, every country is asking for traceability to the farm, and in traceability to the farm, Indian startups have developed a lot of cost saving technologies. So you can partner in terms of the agri equipment, agri technology, and you can bring in each other's best practices, because in some cases where Colombia and Ecuador have very good storage facilities and other things which they can bring the knowledge to India. It is not a one way flow. What I would like to emphasize is that there is a lot of areas for collaboration. There is a lot of areas where we can move forward, but we need to do 3 or 4 things. And one of the most important thing is probably regulatory collaboration and synergies, because if our food safety authority work with the food safety authority, we understand each other. So there is a level of regulatory collaborations and understanding, so that we understand the documentations and the processes. Then the second thing is, somewhere we design doing business guides, and the third process is marketing in each other's market. So if your product come into our market and our product goes into your market, there should be knowledge. In India, there is knowledge about some products. Like, people know about Colombian coffee, people know about Ecuador shrimps, but there is not a wide range of knowledge about the huge huge amount of products that you can offer and we can offer on either side. So a kind of working with the hotel industry, allied industry, to share knowledge would be something interesting that I can think about. I will again come back with more interventions, but I hope this sets the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Arpita. That was very enlightening. For sure, we need to have a handbook on the do's and don'ts, and the regulations need to be put in place so that will facilitate trade between our countries. And taking that into consideration, we would like to move on uh, to ICA, which is the Agricultural Institute that regulates most of the import and export of goods from Colombia. So I would like to ask Mr. Edgar, for exports targeting from Colombia, could you elaborate on the main sanitary and phytosanitary regulations and how businesses can best navigate import permits and inspection protocols uh, to bring their products to Colombia, or for Colombians to take their products to India? Mr. Edgar, over to you. Señor Edgar.
Sí, buenos días en Colombia, buenas tardes
Okay, good
en la
morning in
India.
Colombia, good afternoon in India.
Efectivamente,
Effectively,
lo que acaban de hablar es un
the
aspecto muy
things you are
importante
saying
en
is an
los temas de
important
comercio.
aspect in terms of
Y
in terms
solamente
of
quisiera hacer
commerce, and I just
un
wanted
pequeño
to
adendo a lo dicho y a lo
give an
dicho
extra
también por
comment
personas del Ecuador
and
y
also
que
the
pues
words
esto
that my
acaba
coworkers from
de
Ecuador
transcurrir, y es
mentioned.
el interés y los buenos oficios
So
de
the
la
interest and the
institucionalidad
good practices from the
desde el Instituto
institutionality
Colombiano Agropecuario que nos
from the
dirige
ECA,
Paula, y y ese estrechar los lazos
and
comerciales entre
also
los países y
how we
tener
can
aspectos
make a
importantes de
stronger
apertura de
or build a
mercado, que creo que es
stronger
cómo se está
partnerships
moviendo
between
todo
our
este tema
markets, and it's
del mundo.
understanding how the world
Dar
has
una
been
pequeña reseña
moving.
de que efectivamente
So, and
exportamos a muchos
also
países,
we
cumplimos
export to
temas,
several countries.
aspectos
We are
importantes en
accomplishing with
calidad, en inocuidad,
different requirements in terms of
en temas
quality,
de producción
in terms
nacional
of
agropecuaria,
national
nos
production.
encontramos
Let's say that
en
we
un muy buen
are
momento.
in a good moment.
Los accesos a los mercados de los productos
The access
colombianos
to
en
the
general
Colombian
están
products,
fluyendo y
let's say that they
permitiendo
are
después de
working
tiempo.
pretty well, and during the time they
Tocaron
have been
temas de
there.
azúcar,
And
tocaron temas de
also
aceites
talking about
vegetales,
oil,
tocaron temas de
vegetable
café,
oil,
etcétera, etcétera.
sugar, coffee,
Si bien son productos
etc. And let's
tradicionales de
say that
ciertas
they
actividades
are
tradicionales,
traditional
estamos
products.
aportando a mercados de
Let's say that we
países de
are
Asia, Europa y
trying
Oceanía, algunos
to
productos
get better
que
connections
son muy
with other
particulares de
parts of the
nuestra
world.
subregión. Y también pues
And
poder
also, let's
contarle
say
que
that
estratégicamente nos encontramos
strategically we
ubicados en el
are
continente con
in
acceso
an
al
important
Atlántico y al
location or a
Pacífico, y
strategic
eso nos ha
location
dado y
where
nos
we
da la
have
ventaja y nos
Atlantic
da
and the
los
Pacific
beneficios para poder
Ocean,
tener
and those are
acceso
some
a
benefits
temas de
that we
Pacífico y
have
temas
to
del
get access
Atlántico.
to Pacific stuff and Atlantic
Entrando en el
matters,
tema de la
you know,
pregunta,
and just
efectivamente,
going to
las
that
medidas
question
regulatorias están dadas
effectively, the
por
regulatory
normas y son dos
measures, they
tipos de
are given
normas.
by some rules,
Son las normas que nos atañen, si me
and
permite
these
incluir en esto
rules,
a
I'm
Ecuador,
gonna try
es
to
normas
explain a little bit
comunitarias de
this
la
in
comunidad
Ecuador
andina, porque
with
para
the
nosotros es la CAN,
Andina community.
donde hay unas resoluciones
And
y unas
here we have
decisiones que
some
permiten
resolutions and decisions
tener
that
las
allow
importaciones
us
reguladas
to
bajo el
have
aspecto sanitario,
better
fitosanitario,
regulations
que es
in
interés
terms of
nacional,
sanitary
donde nos
aspects,
movemos en
where we are trying to work we in this or talking with each country around us to understand how these regulations could be better, and let's say that we are able to accomplish those rules, but let's say that we are talking about the standards by the IPC, and in this way, from the international convention, the access to the markets in our Andina countries are already defined. So the country interested in export to our towards our territories, they accomplish these sanitary standards. So let's say that in our countries, and especially in Colombia, we have some regulations where we have the processes and all the logistics clear to know how we can export or not. For example, in the resolution 829, we can find all the steps about how we can do or perform a really good quality export, and this is how the person interested, they have to go to the ICA and uh, submit a request where this person let us know the interest he or she has to import or export any product, and also the kind of product. And he, in this case, we verify if if this product already has or not access to our country. And in this way, we got the sanitary document, which is mandatory for us. And depending on if this is a new or an old product, the process is going to be different. So we have some importations about biological products from India. So we have importations from India of products associated to consumption of eggs, uh, and other products. And let's say that those procedures, we already have it here, so it's not going to be difficult. Maybe only for those products that maybe are not registered here in our institution. And also when you have these products, the ones that haven't been registered, so you submit the request, and we are gonna evaluate the sanitary implications that the exportation of those products could have in our country. So we are not doing anything different, only working on the requirements and rules that we have here in our country. In the Article 6, we have that countries maybe have their own measures just to protect the production and the economy in each country. So if this product is a processed product, we have to apply a risky test, which is rapid, but we understand that the temperature in each country may be changing somehow the quality of the products or whatever implication, or maybe a product with a special condition. We also apply this risk evaluation, and is established in the International Organization of Commerce. So, and that way is how we can say that there are a lot of products from India in Colombia, products from animal and vegetable origin, and this shows that we already have established commerce between our countries. And the point here is just trying to reinforce these connections, and also how Colombia and India could be strategically partners, and also we are an agricultural country, and we have our own mechanisms in terms of agricultural dynamics, and also guaranteeing that the conditions of the market allow us to have more and more opportunities. That could be my intervention. If you have any question, just let me know.
Gracias, señor Edgar. Fue muy interesante
Thank you very
escucharlo.
much, Mr. Edgar. Was pretty interested to hear to you. I'll say that we need to do more sessions with ICA, ICA,
Los procesos,
in order that India understands better the processes. I will say that we are going to have, or we will need to have another meeting just to understand how the products could be delivered in Colombia, but it's pretty important to understand those requirements you're talking about. So I expect in other session just to go deeper in those aspects you mentioned, those requirements from India.
A seguir, yo quiero
Before
también
continuing, I
señor
also
Gandhi,
want to ask Mr. Gardner.
drawing on your leadership with the spice and processed food sector, how has India developed its export expertise? And where do you see collaboration possibilities for Colombia and Ecuador with India, with Indian producers? Over to you, Mr. Gandhi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shaw, for this invitation. Good morning to Colombia and Ecuador, and good evening to all friends in India. It's a pleasure to be associated and to be a part of this panel. Thank you once again. Well, if I may speak of myself, we are a 125 years old company dealing in spices, and I represent the Federation of Indian Spice Stakeholders as the chairman. We have about 600 members, and we do various events. We try and collaborate with every country and every state in the country. As far as India is concerned, I'm sure everybody of you would be aware that India is known as the spice bowl of the world. India produces about 52 varieties of spices, and India controls about 60 to 70% of the world's spice production, as well as the world's spice market. And India, basically, like Ecuador, I think is an agricultural country. About 60 to 70% of the population depends on agriculture. And in the recent days, the Indian farmers, the Indian agriculturists have really paved the way for the markets to open. They have developed a lot of technologies to boost their production, to boost organic and IPM production. If I can give you some statistics, India produces about 11 million metric tons of spices every year, and India exported about 1,800,000 tons of spices in 24-25 at a value of about 4.7 billion US dollars. Well, if I was just looking at some statistics a couple of days ago, and I did not find too much of spice trade between India and Colombia or India and Ecuador. I think there's a huge opportunity in this market. India is a sustainable supplier, a sustained supplier in agricultural and spice products. And yes, there are certain Latin American countries like Mexico and Argentina who are importing a lot of spices, but I think we need to do more in terms of the two countries. Colombia has a free trade agreement with a lot of Latin American countries, and I think this could be a gateway for the Indian products to the Latin American countries. And I heard Ms. Arpita saying that, and also Mr. Xavier and other people, that they will be lowering the MRLs and would want to shift more towards organic products. But please keep in mind, that when you set your MRLs, the availability of your products. I mean, lower MRLs does not mean that you sustain that availability as well. And traceability is the key. Yes, regulatory collaboration, as Ms. Arpita said, we need to do that. I think the biggest roadblock in the trade between India and Colombia or the other Latin American countries could be the phytosanitary certificates. That is, I mean, from what I get is we can export, or the Colombia and Ecuador can import the powder form of spices, while the seeds form of spices requires a lot of regulatory compulsions. I think this needs to be addressed because India is a huge market. India can supply whatever quality, whatever. I mean, we have great infrastructure. I invite you all to come and have a look at our infrastructure as well. And yes, marketing is needed from both the countries. I think we can collaborate with the local associations. You can collaborate. You can set up more MOUs, more FTAs. Bilateral synergies need to be established. And the if you look at the culture wise, if you look at both the countries as a culture, I think Indian people still maintain or still look at the American or the Latin American countries as the stereotype countries. While from the Latin American countries, India is looked as merely a spiritual country of spiritual and gurus. I think this perception needs to be changed a bit, and we should move more towards business. Yes, the other thing that could be affecting our travel to Colombia and Ecuador is probably the high cost of visas. I think they charge about $200 or $250 for just 6 month or 90-day visa. So I think this needs to be addressed. Well, and yes, there's a lot of opportunities. As in when when the session goes forward, I shall be intervening with the speakers, and I think they should set the stage for the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gandhi, so much. That was very interesting to hear you. Yes, we have phytosanitary agreements to be put in place. There is work to be done. I think we have already begun with this webinar to take things forward. So thank you very much. A little note for our listeners. Those I see there are some people having problem with the translation. In order to have it in the language of your choice, there is a globe icon or interpretation on the menu. You need to click it and select the language you would like to listen to this webinar. Para las personas que tienen problemas con la traducción, hay un botón que dice que
Okay, for people having issues with the translation, you will see globe icon where you should click on it, and then you can choose the language of your preference.
Bueno. So let's go on. Our next question is for Mr. Orozco from UPL. Mr. Orozco, what global mega trends are shaping the agro-food future, particularly in food security? And with UPL's presence in Colombia and Ecuador, how is the company supporting sustainable agriculture on the ground? Over to you, Mr. Orozco.
Bueno, muy buenos días. Primero quiero dar una
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you, Rochelle, for this invitation. For us, it's pretty important to have these spaces, and I say that it's a pleasure because as a Latino, it's a pleasure for me working with India, and you don't imagine the commitment that we have with the topic about food security, and also good night in India. And is going to be a night there, and good morning for the participants here in Colombia and Ecuador. So before talk about your point, your question, UPL is a company that was born in India, and now we are more than 55 years trying to protect the harvest with a real commitment in order to guarantee the food security. So always we introduce ourselves in Ecuador or wherever, we say that our real goal is giving real tools that guarantee the production of food. So as company UPL, it's a pleasure for me to listen to the ambassador in India. So the opportunity to have companies with bigger companies. So for me, that was a part of the speech, which was pretty important for me because I'm completely sure the company where we are working at, and I'm completely sure how strong and meaningful is the dynamics that we are trying to develop in this area. And it's important for me, the market where UPL is moving in Colombia and Ecuador, so easily could be a market that could move 101,100,000 million dollars, and that's a position of leadership in between both countries and pretty defined in the Colombian territory. But also we have two plants of manufacture in Colombia, and that allows us to establish in order to guarantee that we are going to be the perfect provider for whatever company interested in our company. So that way we are trying to cover the demand in the American market also, and additionally Alberto established the component of corn, which is pretty important for us because our genetic is not oriented to the production of maybe transgenerics or stuff like that, but it's going to be other, the trend for us is going to be other. Just to talk a little more about the thinking you ask for us, is pretty important to understand that we have four mega trends around the world in terms of agricultural matters. So the first one is part of the thing in this webinar is related to the population growth. So in 2024 we were 8 billion of inhabitants, and in 2025 we are going to have 9,700 million of inhabitants. So and during the next year, we are going to have around 11 billion of inhabitants. So and now, how you guarantee the food security with a population which is growing year per year? And this challenge has some connotations of an environment that we can call legal, which is like getting strong around the world, oriented to participate or to follow these trends that we are having in the world. So and now the trends is trying to produce more organic food. Maybe those are the interests that the rest of the population around the world is having a special trend. And this exercise, companies like UPL or other companies in the sector, maybe they have to start creating a thought, like an internal mindset, just to create strategies that allow us in the future, not long-term future, but medium-term future, just to be able to take the initiatives to reduce maybe the chemical procedures just to try to be more friendly with the environment also, and why not reducing the toxicology components that we could take into account. So other challenge that we have to take into account just to develop that topic about food security is going to be that the earth potentially is in the limit to produce food. I don't know if you understand. So one of the advantages that we have in Colombia and Ecuador is that we have one of the last like borders, agricultural borders, where potentially we can expand the agriculture in around 4 million hectares in our territory. If you will see the Colombian area, Colombia and Ecuador is using all this area around 7.23 million of hectares with like improved grass, where we can produce more and more or take advantage of this, taking into account the situation around the world. So in Latin America, we have two modalities of food production. One is going to be for local production, but with an agro export feature. Ecuador is strong in the banana and cocoa market. Same thing, I'm talking about flowers. And in the case of Colombia, all of you knows how important is the coffee industry for our economy. And then we have the business of banana also, sugar in particular, and a growing market of fruits of exportation, specifically avocado has. And many of these characteristics could be duplicated in the market, in the Ecuadorian market. So if you know, and I say particularly maybe for the ones in India, the FAO name 8 countries in Latin America like potential providers in different kind of products. And talking about from Honduras to Peru, and let's say that we have an important role in this market and several opportunities to become ourselves in a potential to supply that condition of food. And the other challenge is the climate change, and we are in a privileged area, but obviously we are impacted because this situation. So if we stop in the things, if we analyze the situation in Europe, where people is dying because the weather is pretty high, or the situation that United States is having, that's going to be one of the huge challenge, but also is going to be an advantage that we have here when you are in agriculture and trying to develop tools fighting with the climate change. And which is the company that a company as UPL, being an Indian company, our purpose today is clearly defined to help to produce food with a little or less chemical procedures, and also to guarantee the production of cattle, the cattle, I mean, the production of cattle, and also to establish a hydric source to be used in a better way. 69 liters are used specifically for agriculture of 80 around the world. We are the ones using more water, and let's say that we are trying to implement technology that reduce these numbers. And there are some trends that the world established 13 or 14 years ago. And the most important thing here is that UPL is committed to develop more strategies that for sure are going to be helping us to reduce all these impact that from the agro-food industry we are generating around the world. So let's think about generate richness to the agriculture. If the agricultures are okay, the rest of the world are going to be good. You know, that's like a reflection that I can do at this moment. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor Juan. Eso fue una gran intervención. Claramente
Mr.
sabemos
Juan,
que
thank you
India
for your
tiene muchas
intervention.
personas para consumir
For sure
la
that
comida
we
y Colombia es un país que tiene la
is
tierra
pretty
para
worthy.
cultivar.
Your
Entonces,
introduction
empezando
to
por ahí,
Colombia and
con
Ecuador, you have
ustedes,
the
por la
territory
mitad y con
to harvest,
todo su apoyo
and for
en
sure that
Colombia
with
y
your
en Ecuador.
experience and your support in
Yo
Colombia
sé que
and
hay mucho
Ecuador,
potencial para colaboración
we
entre
are
los
gonna
países.
find the best
En ese momento,
partnership. So
tenemos más de 100
in this
personas
moment, we have
conectados.
more
Está
than
muy
100 people.
interesante.
So it's pretty
Yo
interesting.
quiero seguir
This intervention, I want to
nuestro
continue
panel,
with our panel.
y quiero preguntar
And also I
al
wanted to
señor
ask
Acosta
to Mr. Acosta
and Dr. Mukherjee,
and the Dr.
to
Mukherjee.
you both, looking
Ustedes,
at the export profiles. Where do you see untapped trade that could be mutually beneficial for India and Latin America? Where is that potential that is beneficial for both sides? Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Acosta or Dr. Mukherjee, if you would like to start.
Okay, who would like to start first?
You can go ahead, Dr. Arpita.
Okay, thank you. See, basically, as I'm hearing all the speakers, what I find is that there are some common trade issues, and one of them is related to phytosanitary standards, maximum residue level. And that actually brings this scope for collaboration also. Like when you talk about areas of collaboration, it may be on how you manage your residue levels, how you meet your phytosanitary standards, how you put in sustainable input, how you actually all the water and other sustainable business practices, how do you do your tracking and tracing, how do you increase the shelf life of the product. These are all the areas where there can be collaborations. And also not only for bilateral trade, maybe for trade in third country markets like the European Union, where we can collaborate with each other, share our technologies, knowledge, and we look at into the better what you call is a better access and knowledge by mutually scaling up. There is also there are areas which go beyond the typical crop level collaborations into agricultural equipment, into joint marketing, and many a times in both these market it is always easier to go for probably a joint venture model rather than physically going and trying out, because there is a language problem, there is a distance, there is always better to identify the right business partner to do business. So that's one of the interesting thing is that we have to develop more south-south collaborations. As of now, we have more north-south collaboration. One idea that hasn't been taught a lot here is that we are all doing trade agreements, but we are not doing trade agreements with each other. So what is happening is everybody else is getting a better deal, and we are giving each other a very high tariff barrier, and that is probably something that we may need to think through. And if probably we align and reduce the tariff from each other and remove all the non-tariff measures on each others, I think the trade will be much better and we can bring in more value addition. However, I go back to my first point is that to even remove the barrier, agriculture is very vast. And if you try all agriculture together, you may not reach anywhere. But what you really need to do is to look at each of these countries' key export items and which they can possibly sell in the other markets, like top 10 or 15 export item, which is possible to sell in the other market, and how do we reach that? Like, for example, again, coming to the spices example, if spices is our top export, which it is, to both Colombia and Equator. Can we actually make more ready to eat meal? Can we go use the spices in a variety of way? Can we make more of the cuisines there spice friendly, what you call it, spice friendly, know your spices kind of training, and make things more simple and usable for making it more acceptable? So that is something that we need to think through, and for that you need to work with the retailers, hotel industry. You have to go beyond the manufacturers and exporters in the food business to be allied partners.
Thank you, Dr. Arpita. That was interesting. Yes, we need this exchange of information has to be done. There is lots of interest, but we need to bridge these gaps. Señor Acosta, no sé si tú quieres dar su visto de por parte
Mr. Acosta, I
de
don't know if
Ecuador
you
o de este
wanna
lado del mundo.
give a
¿Cuáles son
remark
los
about
perfiles de
which are the
exportación
profiles of
que usted cree
exportation
donde
that
hay potencial y donde
where
hay
there
beneficio
is potential or
mutuo para ambos,
mutual
por ambos lados?
benefits for both
¿Puedes
sides?
elaborar un poquito?
If you can talk
Sí,
about
muchísimas
something
gracias.
about that.
Definitivamente hay mucho potencial
Definitely, there
para
are
hacer un comercio mucho
a
más
lot of
intensivo.
potential just to create a more
Fundamentalmente mencionaba
intensive commerce.
la doctora
So
el tema
it's
de
pretty
firmar TLCs y
fundamental
acuerdos comerciales. Eso es una parte también
to
central en
have
esta
those
evaluación.
commercial agreements.
Es una oportunidad, en el caso
And
de ecuatoriano, en este momento
is
existe una
in
oportunidad
the
en
case of
Ecuador que es muy
Ecuador,
importante,
we have a
y la
huge
prioridad es la
opportunity
firma de
where
acuerdos
the
comerciales. Esto
government
está siendo aplicado
prioritized the
mundialmente
sign
en
for
muchos países.
commercial agreements, and
Si es
we
que
are
India se
doing
queda
this in
fuera,
a
pues también se
strong
queda fuera de estos
way.
beneficios.
So if
Para
India is not
mencionar un
going to
ejemplo que
be
lo tengo
here
vivido,
with us,
sé que
India is
soy de
going to
otra
be
área,
outside of these
no estamos
benefits.
en un tema
So
agrícola,
let's
pero en
say
el tema de los
that
vehículos, por
in
ejemplo,
terms of the vehicles, for example,
Ecuador tiene un
we have
TLC
in
firmado
Ecuador,
con
we have
China, y en pocos años los vehículos
a
chinos van a tener
TLC, like
0% de
a
arancel. Los
free
vehículos de
agreement
India
of
todavía pagan,
commercializing,
siguen
so the
pagando
vehicles in
40%
India
de arancel.
are gonna be
En la
paying
práctica, esto lo que significa es que
40%.
los va a sacar del mercado.
Let's say
Esto solo para dar un
that
ejemplo
this
en el
could
caso
be
de los
a
vehículos, pero
problem,
esto
just
sucede en muchas
to
áreas
cite
donde
an
si no
example about the
implementamos con acuerdos
benefits
comerciales,
that we can have with these commercial
otros países
agreements.
reciben
But
condiciones
let's say
preferenciales
that
y la India
if
se queda fuera.
in
Entonces
this
sí es importante
dynamic
la firma de acuerdos
we are
comerciales.
closing
Y
new
otro tema que
agreements with other
mencionaba también
countries, and I'm pretty
muy interesante,
interested
muy
in
importante,
that
es
India could be part
conocer
of
el
these
uso de los
agreements
productos.
and these
Muchos de los
benefits that we
productos
are
que produce la
giving
India para
to the
nosotros
rest
son
of the world.
exóticos,
Several
que la
products
población en
that
general no
India
necesariamente sabe
produce,
cómo se usan,
they are
o en qué
exotic
momento y
for
en qué
us.
oportunidades. Y es algo que también ha
So,
vivido el Ecuador.
and this is something
Por
that in
ejemplo, con el
Ecuador we
camarón.
have been
El
living with
camarón antes de la
shrimps.
pandemia era un
The
producto
shrimp
que
before the
la gente lo
pandemic was a
asociaba su
product
consumo en
that
Estados Unidos
people
y en Europa, lo
associated
asociaba con un
the
consumo de
cons
restaurantes. Decía,
the
yo como
people
camarón en un restaurante, yo no sé
related
cómo
the
prepararlo, no
shrimp
puedo, no
the
sé cómo se
consumption with the
cocina, pero
restaurants
en el restaurante
because
era un
people
producto que
didn't
gusta
know
mucho.
how to
Bueno,
cook
vino la pandemia, los restaurantes
shrimp.
estuvieron
Okay,
cerrados
the
y fue
pandemic
una
finishes,
oportunidad para el país
or
para que
started, I mean, and the
enseñar a la
restaurants
población,
were closed,
la población
and
aprendió, los
then people
consumidores
should
aprendieron
to
que era
learn
fácil
how
preparar un
to
camarón.
prepare
De hecho, preparar un
shrimp,
camarón es más fácil que preparar
and
un pollo o
actually
preparar una carne,
preparing
sale más
shrimp
rápido.
is easier than
Entonces, esos
prepare
detalles
chicken
ayudan y
or
facilitan el
whatever
comercio. Como les
meat.
decía, Ecuador en
So
este momento está
as
firmando
I told
acuerdos
you before,
comerciales
in
con muchos
Ecuador,
países.
we
Está
are
una negociación
signing
cerrada con
several
Corea del Sur,
commercial agreements with
Canadá se cerró
South
recién,
Korea,
todo está a
with
punto de
Canada,
cerrarse.
and
Está
also
negociando con República
we are trying
Dominicana,
to
con Panamá.
negotiate with Dominican
Está por
Republic,
iniciar
with
una
Panama,
negociación también de un
and
TLC con los Emiratos
also we
Árabes,
have a
etcétera.
TLC
Entonces, este
with
es un
the
momento donde el
Arabic
gobierno ecuatoriano está
Emirates,
buscando
and
activamente
the
esa
Ecuadorian
integración.
government
Yo
is
creo que es una
trying to
oportunidad también para que
integrate
sea aprovechada
commercial
y que la India también busque esa
connections with the
integración
rest
con
of
el
the
Ecuador.
world, and it's pretty
Ahora,
good for
hablando en
me that India is
específico, ¿qué
interested
productos
in
tienen
be
potencial
part
en
of
este comercio
this
entre Ecuador e India? Hay una
movement. So
metodología,
there are some potential products between
metodología que se
Ecuador
conoce
and
Export
India.
Potential Map,
There is a
donde la
methodology
institución
which
se
is
llama
export
ITC,
potential production map, which is ITC, where we can see what is not the potential product or the additional situations that we can have in order to diversify our market. So based on this methodology, I got some conclusions here. So in terms of exportations, Ecuadorian products with potential to be sent to India. Based on this methodology, the products with more potential, we have some minerals, we have gold with a huge potential to be exported. But also there are some agricultural products, for example, the palm oil, coconut, cocoa, and shrimps. And there are other products like beans, cocoa pasta, fresh fruits, and these are products with a huge potential to be sent from Ecuador to India. And on the other hand, what could be India to Ecuador, where we have a better potential based on this methodology. The biggest potential is in elaborated products, medicine, motorcycles,
productos metálicos,
like
todo lo que es
metal products,
fungicidas, herbicidas,
insecticides,
uso agrícola,
herbicides, products for the agricultural use.
Y también hay algunos productos agrícolas.
And there are several agricultural products that I don't remember here. Some seeds, species, among others. So let's say that there are a lot of products that could be included here in our market. And let's say that in this agricultural side, we have different products that could be attractive from India to Ecuador. So definitely there is a huge potential of growth. We have to work, and the advantage with these commercial agreements, they are not going to be only the taxes they have to pay. So also it requires some special effort with just to accomplish the regulations in Ecuador, for example, with the European Union. One thing was the agreement, but other different things was how we are going to identify other maybe requirements. And also, let's say that here there is a huge job, or there are a lot of things that we need to perform. So we are ready for you if India is interested to sign any agreement. For sure we are ready for it, and that means a huge opportunity to keep growing together and take it to another level.
Muchas gracias, señor Acosta. Eso fue
Thank you,
una gran
Mr. Acosta.
intervención.
That was
Sí,
a pretty good
claramente hay
intervention.
tarifas
And let's say
tenemos que
that
poner
there
en
are some
orden,
tariffs that we need to
toda la parte
analyze
de regulación,
in terms
pero
of
ahí estamos
regulations.
empezando con eso, con ese webinar. Ahí
We
estamos
are
hablando. Cuando estamos
starting
hablando ya tenemos
to,
en
this is,
cuenta que
we are
estamos
starting with this
esperando.
webinar.
Yo
So if we
espero
need to
que
do
con eso
something, we will
vamos
do it. I
a
will say
mantener la
that we are gonna
en
move
aumentar ese comercio
forward to
entre
increase that commerce between India and Ecuador.
Ahora yo quiero preguntar el
Now I
señor
wanted
Gandhi,
to ask
Mr. Gandhi,
Mr. Gandhi
y el señor de ICA, el señor Edgar.
and Mr. Edgar. The question is for you.
Mr. Gandhi, we can start with you. What are the key challenges companies face with cross-border compliances and certifications? And how can government or private entities help with these cross-border gaps? Over to you, Dr. Gandhi.
Is it for me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, regarding the cross-border trade, I think uh, there is not much trade happening between the two countries, so it's very difficult to assess the situation. But yes, I think when we export directly, the phytosanitary requirements are the main challenges because when you export seed spices from India, seed spices from India are subject to a lot of stringent checks and rejections, I believe, and the powder forms are easily getting through. That is the one major challenge. I think the second major challenge is could be the transit time and the availability of vessels. I think Latin American countries take a lot of uh, transit time, and with the present current geopolitical tensions, this is a big challenge to us. And I would like to also suggest one more thing, that we increase selective trade between the two countries, where there could be a win-win situation for both the countries. I mean, what you need, what we can give, what we need, what you can give. So a selective trade, I mean, I can talk about spices. India spices are known all over the world for their aroma and the flavor, and probably that could change your food habits. So that is one thing. You can increase the people-to-people connections. The B2B connections can be increased. I think a very good way to increase the connections between the two countries could be a cultural exchange. I mean, when you have cultural exchanges, you have a variety of food on your table. And that is how things could be marketed both ways, your products as well as our products. I think another area where we can do good is increase the connection between the export promotion councils and the local associations in both the countries. This would go a very long way in creating a good, healthy relationship and a faster relationship to foster more better relationships. And since I'm on this panel, I would like to request Mr. Vineet and Ms. Arpita, through your good offices, kindly suggest to the government of India that they give some more incentives for new market developments. I mean, Ecuador, Colombia are new markets for us. So this could facilitate more trade between the two countries. And in the initial days, yes, this is needed. And we need to develop a digital platform on the connect and how to connect with both the countries, and also a dedicated export promotion council for both the countries. I think this is one thing that I would like to suggest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gandhi. Yes, I think we need to bridge these gaps. I think a digital platform will help in a long way to put things on one page. And we do need to put these phytosanitary agreements in place to allow us to bring Indian products to Colombia and to take Colombian products and Ecuadorian products to India. I think culture plays a very important role. We've been having a lot of Indian culture activities here. I think we need to take more of Colombia and Ecuador to India. I think that is where it's lacking. Many of the Indians don't know in Colombian and Ecuadorian food and culture. I think that's where we need to bridge the gap. But I have it in my notes, and we are going to work on that. I think culture brings businesses together, so that's important. Um, el señor de ICA, el señor Edgar, me
Mr.
gustaría
Edgar
saber,
from
por su
ICA,
lado,
I would like to
cuáles son los
know
desafíos que las
what the
compañías
challenges are
pueden
between
tener
companies
para atraer sus
that companies
productos
could
a
have to
Colombia
bring
y
their
cuáles
products
son
to
las
Colombia, and
certificaciones
what
que
are
pueden
like the
ayudar a
certifications that
atraerlos
could help
y
to bring those
algunas
products. And
políticas
also
del
there are
gobierno
some
o de
policies
entidades
of the
privados que
government
pueden
or
ayudar y
private
cerrar
sector that could help
ese gap,
to
ese espacio
close that gap, that space. So if you can talk about it, which the challenges are to close this space, Mr. Edgar.
Claro que sí. El aspecto de comercio
Okay, for sure, the commercial aspect,
está asociado
especially the
entre esa
international
integración de
market,
la
is associated in that
parte
integration
estatal
of
con la
the
parte comercial. Es
governmental
un
policies with
engranaje
the
que es
commercial
importante para que las
policies.
cosas se
This
den.
is a connection that we
Básicamente,
need to
el
understand
aspecto
clearly, and basically
estatal es el
from
cumplimiento de las
the
condiciones
government or
clinocular,
institutional
de sanidad
context about
y las garantías que el país
sanitary
exportador y las
requirements
condiciones
or legal
sanitarias que el país
requirements
importador
about
determine y que se cumplan
the
las mismas.
importer country
Pero asociado a ello
that
hay aspectos
that you are talking
relevantes
about.
como
But
es la
additionally to
calidad
that,
del
there are
producto, las
other
características del
aspects like the
producto, la
quality of the
constancia en la
product, the
producción y el
condition of the
mantenimiento,
product,
el mercado abierto de esos productos.
if this is an
Y todo
open
ello se integra para que
market,
haya
and all
beneficios
these
y que
things that I
estos puedan
mentioned
ingresar sin
before
ningún tema
are things
que
that
pueda generar
as
atrasos o que pueda
interested in
generar algún tipo de
importing
rechazo si
or
estas características no
exporting,
se
you
dan
should
tanto del
try to
importador, país y desde
warranty
el punto de vista oficial
just
como desde el
to
punto de vista
avoid
comercial.
having a
¿Dónde es
whatever
importante estos
issue. What
temas?
is
En
where
esto
is
que se ha
important
venido
these
hablando
topics?
de
So it's
temas
in
de
the
que
same
deben
things that we
ser
have been
acuerdos
talking about
comerciales donde
the commercial agreements that we
las partes
have
interesadas
among
tienen
countries,
en
where the
común para
interested parts,
discutir
maybe there are some
cuáles
common
son los
points to
requisitos y las
discuss,
condiciones de
and
apertura del
also
mercado y
understanding
se ve
which
también
their
ayudado por
requirements
los temas
are, and
de
also
interés mutuo,
this
de abrir
is like
mercados en ambas
supported by the mutual
países que
interest, you know,
tengan
how interest
ganancias y
is going to
tengan
be
una mejor
the
ubicación de sus
businessman
productos
in
en uno u
India,
otro,
or how
porque dado la
interested is
importancia y lo que han dicho
the people
anteriormente
in
de
Colombia or
considerar
Ecuador,
estos países por
just
parte de la FAO como uno de los
to
países agrícolas para el
understand
mundo, pues también vale la pena
why
tener
these countries are
materiales
a good or
genéticos y
potential partner for
materiales que se
you.
puedan
So let's
desarrollar en
say
estos
that there
países,
are
como bien
several
se puede desarrollar
materials
en la
that
India,
could be
que es un
developed
bien común
in
para los
Colombia,
países
Ecuador,
de
and also India,
colonizados.
is going to be a
Entonces,
benefit in common
a lo que quiero
for
llegar
us.
en
So the
resumen
point that
es
I
que
wanted to get is,
efectivamente
effectively,
el comercio internacional se
the
mueve a
international
través
commerce
del
is
Estado,
moving among
que la
industries,
suma
and
de las
also
fuerzas de la
if
parte
we
comercial y de
work
la parte
together with this
económica y de la parte
commercial
estatal,
strength,
pues hace que los
let's say
beneficios no solo
that
estén
this is
objetivamente
gonna
para el interés de las producciones nacionales, para el
help
interés
us
de los
to
productores,
build
pero sobre
stronger
todo para el interés de los
connections,
consumidores. Entonces,
and guaranteeing the rights
es algo
of the
estratégico
producers and
y
consumers. This is something which should be
apalancado en temas
strategically
como acuerdos
designed,
comerciales o
and
acuerdos
also seeing
que tengo
how
entendido de
we
lo que me
can
han dicho, hay
use
un
in our
avance en el tema comercial
benefit
con la India, pues
the
eso
good
genera
practices in each
facilidades y
country, and let's
intervienen
say
todas
that
las
this
partes
is going to be
interesadas. Muchas
generating
gracias.
really good results. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor Edgar.
James Sureka, thank you very
Eso
much.
es muy interesante
That's
saber
pretty
que no
interesting to
solamente
know
hacer
that
negocio es de saber
not
cómo,
only
cómo
doing
ustedes
businesses
protegen
is
el
going to be
producto
our
que
focus,
cada
but
uno de
also
nosotros
to
va a
understand
consumir
how important it is to guarantee the
es
quality
saludable,
in products
es
that we
bueno,
are completely sure that is healthy, that is
es apto para el
good,
cuerpo.
is
Eso
good
también es
stuff for the
importante
body.
porque
So
yo sé
that's
que
pretty
ustedes
important,
están
and
cuidando
I'm
los
pretty
productos con
sure you are
este lado.
taking care of this
Entonces es un buen punto y
area.
tenemos que
So
empezar a
thank
ver,
you for that.
teniendo
We need
eso
to
en
double
mente,
check
cómo podemos
those
hacer negocios
things
internacionales
to analyze how we
comerciales con
can
los
close
países.
better businesses between both
Muchas
countries.
gracias por su intervención.
Thank you for your intervention.
Yo quiero seguir con el
I
señor
wanted to
Ceballos.
continue with Mr. Ceballos.
What policy frameworks or investment
¿Cuál
initiatives would
marco
enhance
político
India,
en términos
Colombia,
de
Ecuador
iniciativas de
cooperation
inversión
in the
podría
field of
mejorar
agro-food
la
supply
dinámica
chain?
entre Colombia
Mr.
y
Ceballos,
Ecuador, señor Ceballos?
over to you.
Bueno, tal vez yo quisiera tocar un tema que
All
les
right.
da
I
fuerza
would
a todo lo
like
que se ha
to
hablado. Y
talk
es,
about
más que
something pretty
nada, creo que es muy
important
importante obtener los
and
recursos e
also
inversiones.
to get the
Lo
resources
que
just to guarantee
sucedería es,
a good
suena hasta
investment.
conocido.
So
Otros
maybe
temas tal vez voy a mencionar uno que
I'm
otro.
going to mention a couple
Pero
of
todo
topics,
cambio se hace a
but let's say
través
that
de
each
inversiones.
change is going to be
La
through
cadena
investments.
agroalimentaria es
So
un
the
sistema
agro food
interconectado
chain is an
y obviamente
interconnected
pues
system,
mientras
and
eso se
obviously
aporte con ciencia, porque
while
finalmente
we
es un negocio
guarantee
entre
this
personas
because
confiables.
finally
Tal vez
is
voy
a
a
deal
mencionar algo que
between
hizo
people.
posible el ingenio
And maybe
azucarero
I'm gonna
San Juan aquí
talk
en el Ecuador.
about
Los
something
dueños, los
positive that
representé a
happened with the
dos
sugar
compañías
industry here in
cada una
Ecuador,
en su
and
ámbito
is that
industriales hindúes.
each
Y los dueños de la India vinieron, los
industry,
dos, a
Indian industry
conocer
here, the owners
y
of
pudieron
this
finalmente concertar
a
un
company
negocio.
of the sugar
Tal vez
industry, they
no en el
came
sentido
to
total, pero
Ecuador just to
siempre
cover
lograron
whatever
hacerlo.
need we could
Personas
get
con personas,
in this area.
conocer
People
ferias,
with
conocer
people trying to
oportunidades de
meet
negocios,
the
y crear
business
esas plataformas que de alguna
opportunity, and
manera
also
posibilitan
having
las
those
cosas.
platforms that are
Eh,
gonna make
es
the things
importante tener
easier.
contrapartes en India
And
porque
it's
obviamente
important to
muchas cosas que
have
no
a
somos
good
capaces
understanding about
y
India,
también
because
del otro
sometimes,
lado con
as
respecto a otras
I don't
cosas
know
porque
who
tal vez
didn't
no
say this,
están
but the
tan
cultural
vigentes como podrían
understanding
decir.
is pretty
Por lo demás,
important
una
to
política con
keep,
foro agroindustrial en el sentido pues que
dealing
hay
with
mucho
this
espacio de por medio, tiene que haber orden
commercial
regulado,
matters.
modelos de inversión
And let's say that we should
público-privada,
define
realmente
economic
es
models
con mucho soporte de nuestros gobiernos
with
y estoy seguro que el
a
Ecuador,
huge
como
support of
dije al
our
principio, creo antes que nadie,
governments.
creo firmemente
And
en que hay
I
una inmensa
really
posibilidad de
believe
negocio
that
dentro
there
del
is
modelo
a
que está
huge
establecido.
opportunity of business
Eh,
due to
la
the business
infraestructura,
model we are
darle
following.
algún
The
aliciente
infrastructure
posible a mejorar la
is something
logística,
that we need
la
to try
cooperación
to take
académica
care
con
of
nuestras
just
universidades,
to
porque
improve
nuestra agricultura es
the
bastante
logistics.
diferente. Nosotros tenemos mucha
Our,
agua.
our
En India, a
agriculture is
pesar que hay agua,
completely
pues
different
en
because we have
ciertas
a bunch of
situaciones,
water, and despite
porque
of in India
los
also
cultivos
you
son
have
diferentes.
water,
Mucha
here
gente se
the
ve en la nuestra
harvest
frontera porque
dynamics
allá
are
hay ingenios muy
completely
pequeñitos.
different.
Y
So
eso en la parte azucarera comienza de
in the
pequeño y sube
sugar
por varias razones de
area,
logística
it
en
plays an
el producto y
important
tal vez es eso que
aspect
más sé.
here.
Y en la parte agrícola, pues
So in the
hay
agricultural
muchas
part,
cosas que
there
ustedes tienen
are
soluciones
several things that you
que,
have the resolution
bueno,
for that,
son diferentes a las chinas. Las chinas son muy buenas,
things
pero ustedes
different
las
to
tienen,
the
pero
Chinese
no se
ones,
conocen por lo menos en
and
este
you
país.
have it, but at least in
Eh,
this country we don't
eso es
know
lo que podría
about
decir.
it. So that's
Y
the thing
finalmente,
or the
son
comment that I could
muchas cosas, son todas
share, and
válidas.
my colleagues
Yo creo que nos
have
podemos
been
quedar con
saying a
más,
lot of
sino
stuff.
conocer personas
So
que
I'm
no
here
solamente
also to
pertenecen a
learn,
hacer negocios.
and you have to try to close businesses.
Muchas
Thank you
gracias,
very
señor
much.
Ceballos. Yo
Mr.
creo
Ceballos,
que
thank you very
esta
much.
conversación está muy
I will say
interesante.
that this
Ya
conversation is pretty interesting.
es 10:30 acá
Now we have
y tengo
10:30
la
here,
última
and
pregunta
I have the last
para el
question
señor Juan Carlos
for
Orozco.
Juan Carlos
Me
Orozco.
gustaría saber
I would like to know
si vamos a ver
if
adelante cómo
we are gonna move forward,
la contribución de la región
how do you see the contribution in the region
seguridad alimenticio
in
y cuáles
terms
son las
of
oportunidades
food security,
para colaboración y
and which
partnership
are the best
con
practices to
compañías de
improve
la
the
India?
collaboration and partnership with Indian companies?
Gracias, Rochelle. Digamos que retomando un poco lo que habíamos planteado previamente, el pensar en que somos una región que
So,
tiene
thinking that we are a region
opciones
with
en
a
este
huge
potencial realmente
opportunity,
nos da muchas opciones realmente
this
de
gives
representar
us
un
a
buen
lot
negocio.
of
Pero digamos que
opportunities
aquí vienen
to
unos
double check
planteamientos a nivel
the
de
model of the
enfoques del
businesses.
pensamiento del adecuado uso o
So
vocación de
that
uso
way
específicamente. Y ahí vienen
is
grandes planteamientos
how we
también.
can
Y hay que
incorporate
pensar, y lo voy a hablar
like
mucho en el caso
several
de
tools
Colombia
or
y
several
Ecuador.
practices.
Hay
Maybe
zonas
talking about by
de
Colombia, there are
cultivos,
some
digamos,
areas or harvest
agrícolas
areas
que que realmente tienen mucho potencial para
or
convertirse
raw
productivos
crops that
alimentarios
for
en
sure is
Colombia.
going to be a potential
Claramente esa
area
reconversión
that
tiene que ir
where we
completamente
take
ligada a
advantage
una
of.
condición de
And
desarrollo de
this is
mercados,
going to be connected to
precisamente para poder
a
garantizar un tema
condition
de
of market or
viabilidad
trade
futura.
development just to see how
Entonces, la
feasible
oportunidad
is
está,
or not. So
tenemos
the
una bondad
opportunity
de estar en el
is
trópico,
here.
como lo decía,
We are in
porque
the
nuestra es una oferta
tropical
alimentaria
area,
creciente que nos permite realmente
and
ofertar
this
alimentos
allows us to
literalmente durante los
offer
12 meses del año
foods
en una parte en ambos países. Y eso nos da
in
una
a
condición de
pretty
ventaja competitiva
good
frente
way from
a
both
otros países del mundo.
areas
Tenemos
that
un gran
maybe
desafío
other
en el
parts around the
departamento y
world
es
they
algo
don't
en
have.
particular
So
en el mundo
something
agrícola y es
particular
la
in the
dificultad para
agricultural
generar o conseguir
world is
mano
the
de obra para las
difficulty
labores forzadas. Y ahí creo que es donde
to
se viene una
to
de las grandes
cover, the
oportunidades
hand
de acuerdos de cooperación con
work
India. La India
that maybe
tiene
we are
potencial de
needing in
crecimiento
each country. In
importante
India, there is an
desarrollos
important
tecnológicos
recognition
y
in terms
podríamos
of
ayudarlos
technological
realmente a
development,
ser
which
mucho
could
más
be pretty
eficiente
important for
en su
us.
modelo de
How
producción
we
agrícola.
can improve our
Y como
effectiveness,
lo
our
decía
efficiency, and
particularmente el doctor Ceballos,
as Mr.
aquí hay
Ceballos
que
mentioned,
generar es un acercamiento para que la
uh,
comunidad andina
we need to try
conozca
to
realmente primero
provide
cuáles son los
those
desarrollos que
spaces
realmente ha logrado
where
generar
each
la India con el factor
businessman,
productivo en el
each
municipio de Colombia.
entrepreneur
Y
can
cuando
get
uno
in
tiene la
touch.
oportunidad
And when you
de
have the
interactuar
opportunity
con
to
la
interact with
India
the
y
people
ampliar el
directly,
modelo, yo creo que el
to extend
pensamiento
the
de
module, I would say
soberanía
that the
alimentaria se puede
thought
que se plantea
to
quizás desde hace
to
50 o 60 años
advance or
y
not in your
tiene
own business is gonna
cabida
change, because when you
particularmente
find
en
better
países
connections
que
with
están ubicados
other
en Latinoamérica.
companies and
Claramente
other
Latinoamérica
industries, and you
tiene
see
una
that you have
oportunidad
something for them for
gigantesca en
sure.
términos
In
de
Latin
ser
America, I repeat, we
desarrollo
have a
completo.
huge
Y yo creo que ahí
big
podemos hacer
opportunity,
mucho
and I
en
would say that we
alianzas
can
con
do a lot of things in
transferencia
terms of
tecnológica
partnerships,
en el tema de desarrollo
in
de
terms
India.
of
Y yo
technological
creo que
transference
voy a poner
from
particularmente
India
dos
to
ejemplos
Colombia and
interesantes
Ecuador,
que
and
he tenido la
vice
oportunidad
versa.
de
So
vivir y de compartir de
I will
primera mano
say
con
that
ellos
I've been
acompañado
living in the front
grupos de
hand
negociación de la India
different
que
process.
vienen particularmente a visitar nuestro país. En el caso de Colombia,
So
qué
in the case of
espectacularizante.
Colombia,
Voy a poner uno que fue con el tema
I'm
café.
pretty happy for this
Nosotros en
space. So in
Colombia
talking about
logramos hacer
coffee,
un acercamiento entre el
we
gobierno de la India y la
talk
Federación
with
Nacional
the
de Colombia
government in India
para entender el alcance y oportunidad del
to
mercado
understand the scope
en la India. Y en la India es muy
of
importante
this coffee
para
market in
Latinoamérica
India,
entender cómo es el comportamiento demográfico, porque creo que la
just
India
to
tiene una ventaja
understand what is
competitiva muy
their
interesante y es,
behavior
primero,
in their
es que este
area.
es el país más
And
poblado del mundo,
now is the
con 2.4
most
billones de habitantes, pero
populated
literalmente
country
el
around the world,
46% de la
but
población
literally
joven
the
activa laboralmente es mujer.
48% of the
Y eso
active
realmente va a
young
marcar una tendencia importante
like
en el país. Es
entrepreneurs,
decir,
they are
otra
in
característica
India, and
importante es en el
we can
crecimiento
see
económico que ha
how
tenido la India.
fast you
Esos
are growing
segmentos
in
de clase
different
media, por así decirlo, están
in the
volviéndose
different
mucho más
trends that you
competitivos para
try
emprender.
that you
Tienen
promote
una
in your
capacidad de crecimiento
job.
que para el mundo cafetero
And
o para el mundo cacotero es una gran oportunidad realmente
this
para
is a huge
descubrir la
opportunity
condición de mercados. Y la otra
to
es el
improve the condition of the
pensamiento
market.
global en términos de
So
negocio.
then it's going to be the
Hace unos
global
años tuve la
thinking.
oportunidad de acompañar también
So
una
some years
visita
ago,
a una empresa florícola
I
y tuvo
visited
muy
a
buena conversación
flower
donde una persona decía
company,
que vivía
and
particularmente en
I
esa
got a
finca
really good connection
con el gerente de la finca de flores. Al
with the
final de la visita, el
manager of
gerente le
this
regala a esa persona un par de ramos de
company.
flores
At the
y le
end,
dice, lléveselos por favor a su
he
mamá.
gave us
Y 2 días
flowers
después,
for
esa
us.
persona llama al gerente de la finca y
So
le
and
dice,
these
oye,
people
yo mandé unas fotos de las flores y dio la casualidad que mi
let us
mamá
know
dos
that, or let us
comercializadores
understand how
importantes en Oriente,
important
ellos quieren entender
is
contigo
to keep
una
having these
cercanía para
human
desarrollar un
practices to
negocio.
generate
Realmente,
like
yo
that
creo que esa
connection
visión
with
de ayudar a
people. And the
otros
point here
es una
is
característica típica de
to
la cultura y la ciudadanía india. Yo creo que
to
eso es
keep
parte de lo que
having
nosotros tenemos que
like
entender.
those
Y es, somos
cultural or
culturas muy
those
diferentes,
behaviors that
pero
are
cuando
gonna
identificamos
strengthen
puntos en
our
común, ahí
connection
tenemos una
between
oportunidad importante
you and the other, and if you establish really good connections, for sure you are going to be building better partnerships.
Muchas gracias, señor Juan. Yo
So
creo que fue una sesión extendido.
thank you, Mr. Juan. I will
Pues
say
muchas
that
gracias
this
por todos
was an
sus intervenciones,
extensive session.
sus comentarios,
Thank you for
experiencias,
your comments, experiences,
intervenciones. Pero
interventions.
antes de cerrar
But
y
before
dar, Dr.
closing
Vinic,
and
la
give
palabra, yo quiero
and say
informar
bye bye, I
las
wanted to let you
compañías
know
colombianas
that
que
the
vamos a
Colombian
poner una
companies,
delegación para
we are going to
visitar a
establish a
India
delegation to
en
visit
enero
India
del
in
2026
January
para
2026,
exhibir sus
just
productos
to
en la
exhibit
feria de
your
Indus
products
Food que
in
está
the fair
organizado por
of
TPCI,
Indus Food,
que va a
and
ser
is
en
organized
la
by
ciudad de Nueva
TPCI.
Delhi. Entonces, si
That's
hay
going to
alguien
be
que está
New Delhi.
interesado en
If you are
exponer sus
interested in
productos en India,
expose your
puede
products in India,
contactarnos
let us
para
know
más información
to
en
receive more information.
info@conexiones B2B.
Info at
Y
Connections
con mucho
B2B.
gusto puede ayudar
And
con esa
you, for sure, you
participación.
can help
For
with that
those
participation.
of you in India who would like to participate in exhibiting your products in Colombia, we will be putting together a delegation from India in coordination with TPCI to participate in a fair in June 2026 here in Bogota. If you all are interested, you all can write to us at info@connections B2B, or you can visit our website through our social media handles. You can contact us, and we will be more than happy to share information with you to participate in these fairs to bring your products to Colombia next year. I would also like to thank the Ecuador India Chamber of Commerce and TPCI for coordinating with us to make this webinar happen, as well as ICA and UPL for their support and participation today. A big thank you to the Embassy of India for their constant trust in our work. Thank you, Dr. Vineet, and for giving us this opportunity to bring to you this webinar today. It doesn't end here, so do stay tuned to our social media handles for more events. Dr. Vineet, we would like you to close the session today with a note of thanks and reflection on what comes next in the India-Colombia Ecuador agro-food dialogue. Over to you, Dr. Vineet.
Thank you so much, Miss Rochelle. And on behalf of Embassy of India in Colombia, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers, all the esteemed participants from our three countries, India, Ecuador, and Colombia. Uh, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to His Excellency Mr. Fernando Buseli, Ambassador of Ecuador in India. Our esteemed speakers from all the three countries. From Ecuador, we listen to Mr. Javier Ceballos, ex-Vice Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Alberto Acosta Burneo, economist and consultant there in Ecuador. From Colombia, we had presence of Mr. Juan Carlos Orozco, marketing manager in UPL. uh, Officials, esteemed officials from International Affairs Department from ICA, the regulatory body here in Colombia. From India, Dr. Arpita Mukherjee, Professor, Mr. Tejas Gandhi, owner of Manilal Jamnadas and Chairman FIS. Uh, it has been wonderful listening to all of you. The opportunities, challenges, the way forward, the regulatory landscape in our countries regarding the sector, and the suggestions going forward. And also, many of you mentioned about the need of more cultural exchanges between the two countries, people to people contact, so that because there have been some issues including the connectivity. There is no direct flight connectivity. Language is one of the barriers. There is a lack of knowledge of both the cultures on both the sides, more so in India about these countries than in India of the Colombian and Ecuadorian culture. So maybe there is and on part of the embassy, I also assure you that we have been doing to promote the Indian culture, to promote the Colombian culture also in India, or Ecuadorian culture also in India. But more is, of course, there is a lot of scope in the cultural landscape as well as in different sectors of bilateral economic relationship, including the agro and food sector that we discussed today. From the embassy, we keep organizing this kind of series of webinars so that both sides can take these opportunities, small steps basically on part of the embassy, so that the business community can be helped on both the sides. Believe today's discussion paved the way to enhance the knowledge experiences that you already had between for these countries in these sectors. We listened to the esteemed speakers representing all the three countries from their perspective. So I take this opportunity once again to thank you all who participated, who took the discussions forward. I take this opportunity to thank Connection B2B Miss Rochelle Miranda for coordinating this webinar series. Our bilateral chamber of commerce in Ecuador, led by Miss Paulina and Mr. Shailendra, team from Trade Promotion Council of India. Thank you so much, everyone, and hope this discussion will not be limited to this webinar series here today, but through Connection B2B and Miss Salamanca, we would be sharing the contact details of the relevant agencies with all the participants, so that you can take your businesses forward, and if anything, then you can reach back to us. To the embassy, our details are there on the embassy website, Embassy of India in Colombia, so you can get all the details there, or through Miss Rochelle Miranda. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best in your future endeavors, your businesses going forward, and best wishes.